first off, just to sort of dip our feet a little more into what the child tax credit is and why it's so important. We sort of know very well that cash supports help families on a variety of levels. That's always been true. It's especially true today with what we all know is happening with the rising cost of living and inflation. And the child tax credit is a very powerful tool that can help our families afford the daily expenses of raising children. And in particular, the American Rescue Plan significantly expanded the child tax credit in some pretty historic ways for 1 year. And in doing so, it has really supported, although on a temporary status, many of our families with children. And so child tax credits have sort of long been a really powerful tool in our child poverty fighting tool belt. Along with the various policy levers that you see here, they have a fully refundable child tax credit has sort of long been touted as a really strong and concrete way that we can lift millions of children out of poverty. And so I'm sure you have by now all heard about the American Rescue Plan. And this piece of legislation did so much for families, but in particular, it really expanded the child tax credit in three very transformative and historic ways. And so first, it increased the credit value and expanded eligibility to include 17-year-old youth. And so children under 6 could receive a $3,600 per child benefit, and children ages 6 to 17 were eligible for a $3,000 per child benefit. Secondly, the American Rescue Plan made the CTC fully available to children in our lowest income, but also no income families, which is very important. So regardless of how much income a family had or didn't have, they could receive this credit. And lastly, and what was sort of most revolutionary, is that the American Rescue Plan paid the credit out, the first half of the credit out in monthly installments. And so many New York families who were eligible for the credit received the first half of the benefit in monthly increments between July and December of last year. And so children under 6 received $300 per month. And for children ages 6 to 17, they received $250 per child per month, with the remainder of that credit being saved and to be received at tax time this year. And so for those families who received monthly payments last year, the second half of their child tax credit is still on the table. And that second half of the payment is what families need to make sure to file their taxes for this year in order to receive. And so when we say don't leave any money on the table, we mean it very literally, right? So even if families received these monthly payments from July to December of last year, they are still eligible for the other half of their child tax credit. And in order to receive that, they must file their taxes this tax season. But we also want to note that there are families who did not file taxes last year or who did not sign up for the child tax credit using the non-filer portal, who were and who are eligible. And in that case, if these families file their taxes this tax season, they can receive the full credit. Um, so, we're sort of really touting the importance, really urging families to make sure that they file their taxes. And so if there is one takeaway that you all take from today's session, one sort of tidbit of information, it would be that it is critical for families to file their taxes by April 18th. Even if families may not have had any earnings last year, even if they didn't file taxes in any recent years or have never filed taxes before. It's very, very critical this year that they do so. And so now I will just go over some sort of frequently asked questions that we often receive with regards to making sure that families receive their entire child tax credit. We are often asked, how much money can families expect to receive this year? And that really depends on a variety of factors, your income, how many children you have, and how old they are. But also one other factor, which is whether or not you received monthly payments last year. And so if you are unmarried and in 2021 earned less than $112,500, or were married with an annual income under $150,000, then you are eligible to receive up to $1,800 per child under 6 and $1,500 per child ages 6 to 17 if you received monthly payments last year. If you did not receive monthly payments last year and are eligible for the credit, then again, you can receive the entire credit of up to $3,600 per child under 6 and $3,000 per child ages 6 to 17. Now, the benefit does begin to reduce by $50 for every additional $1,000 of income earned. So if a family income is above those thresholds that I mentioned, the credit will start to reduce. But really, for individuals who earn up to $200,000 and joint filers making up to $400,000, they can still receive some form of a credit. Does an individual have to be employed to receive the expanded child tax credit? That is a huge no. This was one of the sort of big and great changes of the American Rescue Plan, that for this expanded child tax credit, it is available to families with no income at all. When will families receive their cash benefit? So again, some families already received 6 monthly payments last year. And if that's the case, when they file their 2021 tax return, they will receive the remainder of their CTC payment as a part of their tax refund. And if they didn't receive any of those payments last year, no worries, because again, they can still receive that entire credit when they file their taxes this year. And it's so important to make sure that families know that they need to do that by April 18th. How will the IRS know how much money to give families? That is very dependent on on your 2021 tax return. And so even if you filed a tax return in 2020 and started to receive monthly payments last year, and so are thinking, well, the IRS knows I'm eligible because they were, awarding my family these monthly payments. That is not enough, unfortunately. The IRS is going to use the 2021 tax return to decide how much of a child tax credit payment to award families this year.